The dust of Salvation Gulch clung to everything, a perpetual shroud over the dreams and desperations of its inhabitants. In 1685, deep in the wild heart of the American frontier, this small, struggling settlement was a testament to the harsh realities of a life carved from raw wilderness. For Mary, a young woman of 20 summers, the dust felt like a physical weight, pressing down on her spirit, mirroring the crushing burden of her family's debt. The Miller homestead, once a hopeful patch of tilled earth, had yielded little but sorrow. A blight had claimed their crops, a brutal winter their livestock, and her father, Elias Miller, broken by circumstance, had amassed a crippling debt to Mr. Silas Thorne. Thorne was a banker, a merchant, a man whose influence stretched like a poisonous vine through their meager lives. He owned the general store, the sawmill, and by extension, the very breath most townsfolk took. Mary was the eldest, her younger siblings thin and perpetually hungry. She watched her mother, Martha, grow gaunt with worry. The despair in their cabin was suffocating. It was then that the unspeakable suggestion had been made. Mary would be sold to Mr. Thorne through a forced marriage, a transaction disguised as a betrothal. In exchange, their debt would be forgiven and her family might survive. The social stigma of such an arrangement hung heavy, though unspoken. For a daughter to be given up in such a manner was a mark of deep shame for the family and humiliation for the girl. Yet in the unforgiving frontier, survival often trumped dignity. Mary's quiet strength and gentle beauty were seen as a commodity, her last remaining asset. Her mother wept in secret. Her father avoided her gaze. Mary herself felt like a lamb led to slaughter, her future a dark, empty void. Silas Thorne, in his late 50s, stout and impeccably dressed, possessed eyes that held no warmth, only calculation. His smile was a thin, predatory slash. His touch sent shivers of revulsion down Mary's spine. He represented everything she detested, the cold power that crushed the vulnerable, the hypocrisy of men who preach piety while exploiting neighbors. The impending ceremony was not a union of souls, but an acquisition, a public display of his dominance and her family's helplessness. The day of the betrothal arrived, hot and suffocating. The entire town gathered outside the meeting house. Mary stood beside her father, dressed in her mother's faded gown. Every stitch felt like a chain, every breath a struggle. Her heart hammered, a desperate bird trapped in a cage. Silas Thorne stood opposite her, his suit immaculate, his face a picture of self-satisfaction. He held the debt forgiveness document. Reverend Caldwell, his voice droning, began the ceremony, his words hollow. Mary kept her gaze fixed on dust motes, anywhere but on the man about to claim her. She felt the stares, the whispers, the weight of their judgment and pity. She was the commodity, the sacrifice. Just as Reverend Caldwell asked if anyone knew of any impediment, a sudden commotion erupted. A lone rider, silhouetted against the blinding sun, galloped into the dusty street. He was a vision of raw power. His horse, a magnificent black stallion, skidded to a halt, kicking up a plume of golden dust. When the dust settled, Mary found herself staring. The rider sat tall, utterly still, as if carved from rock. Covered in dust, from his wide-brimmed hat to his worn boots, he wore a long duster coat over a dark shirt, two pearl-handled revolvers at his hips. His face, grimed and shadowed, was striking. Sharp cheekbones, a lean jaw, and eyes that held an intensity that seemed to pierce the suffocating heat. A murmur ran through the crowd. This was no ordinary traveler. This was a man of the wild. He dismounted with fluid grace. His gaze swept over the stunned faces, then landed directly on Mary. For a fleeting moment, their eyes met. In his, she saw not judgment, not pity, but a flicker of something she couldn't name. A challenge, perhaps, or a deep, unsettling understanding. Isaac, a hushed whisper snaked through the crowd. Isaac Thorne. Not related to the banker, but a name known and feared. Isaac Thorne, the desert ghost, an outlaw legend. Known for riding into injustice, for breaking chains, for disappearing as swiftly as he appeared. He had just ridden into Salvation Gulch, straight into Mary's nightmare. Silas Thorne, the banker, was the first to recover, his face contorting in anger and fear. "What is the meaning of this intrusion? Reverend, continue the ceremony." Isaac, a few paces away, ignored him, his gaze fixed on Mary. She felt a strange pull, an inexplicable connection to this dangerous stranger. "I heard there was a gathering," Isaac's voice, rough but clear, cut through the tension. "A joining of souls, but it seems I've arrived just in time to witness a transaction." His eyes flickered to Silas Thorne, chilling disdain in their depths. "And I always make it a point to inspect the goods." A gasp rippled. Silas Thorne's face went crimson. "How dare you? This is a sacred ceremony." "Sacred?" Isaac scoffed, taking another slow step. "Or merely profitable? A young woman, traded like cattle for a ledger balance. If that's your definition of sacred, Reverend, then your God has a peculiar taste for despair." Reverend Caldwell sputtered. Deacon Bartholomew Finch, Thorne's lackey, stepped forward, hand reaching for a pistol. "You have no right, vagrant. This is a private family matter." "It became a public matter the moment you paraded her out here, bound by debt and fear," Isaac retorted, his hand hovering near his own revolver, a silent, deadly warning. His eyes were still fixed on Mary, a silent question. "What do you want?" Mary's heart pounded. She looked at Silas Thorne, then her defeated father, then at Isaac, who saw her, not as a commodity, but a soul. A desperate, wild hope ignited within her. Before anyone could react, Isaac moved, stepping directly between Mary and Silas Thorne. "This bride, it seems, is not quite ready for her new owner," he stated, his voice a low growl. Silas Thorne bellowed, "Seize him! He's an outlaw! There's a price on his head!" Deacon Finch and the constables lunged. Isaac moved like a desert mirage. The first constable stumbled, disarmed. The second swung. Isaac ducked, delivering a swift, precise strike that sent him sprawling. Deacon Finch managed to draw his revolver, but before he could aim, Isaac's hand moved. Faster than sight, a pearl-handled revolver was in his grasp, pointed at the ground by Finch's feet. A single shot cracked the air, kicking up dust between the deacon's boots. Finch froze, terror in his eyes. "The next one," Isaac said, his voice calm, deadly, "won't miss your foot." Silas Thorne, enraged but cowardly, scurried behind the Reverend. "You'll hang for this, outlaw." Isaac ignored him. He turned to Mary, his intense blue eyes softening. "Do you want this, Mary?" he asked, his voice low, private. Mary looked at him, then at the chaos, the fear, the shattered dignity. Her gaze met Isaac's. Her answer was a silent, desperate plea, a fierce nod. "Then we ride," Isaac declared. He took her hand, his grip firm, warm, real. He led her, pulling her from the suffocating grip of Salvation Gulch. The townspeople watched, stunned, as Isaac, still holding Mary's hand, pulled her swiftly towards his stallion. He swung into the saddle, then with ease, pulled Mary up behind him. She clung to him, her head pressed against his dusty back. With a powerful kick, the stallion galloped out of Salvation Gulch in a cloud of dust, leaving behind a bewildered, angry, and speechless crowd. They rode for hours, the setting sun painting the sky in fiery hues. Mary had never ridden so fast, so freely. The wind whipped her hair, drying her tears, and for the first time in years, she felt a thrilling surge of hope. She was on the run, with a wanted man, fleeing everything she had known. Yet she felt less trapped than she had in years. As twilight bled into night, Isaac finally reined in the stallion by a hidden spring. He dismounted, then helped Mary down, his hands gentle. "We'll rest here," he said, softer now. "They won't follow us this far tonight." Mary sank onto a rock, her legs trembling. The vast silence of the wilderness was strangely comforting. She looked at Isaac as he calmly watered his horse and gathered firewood. He was not the monster rumors painted, but something complex and intriguing. "Why did you do it?" she whispered. "Why intervene?" Isaac paused, turning to face her. "I saw a trapped soul," he said simply, "and I've spent too much of my life seeing good people crushed by men like Thorne. No woman should be sold, Mary, not for any price." His words struck a chord. He saw her, not the transaction. He saw the injustice. They'll be after you, she warned. Thorn will pay every bounty hunter. Isaac gave a grim, weary smile. I'm used to it. The desert is harsh but familiar, and Thorn's lies are well known to those who truly ride the plains. He spoke of his past, sparingly but with honesty. He was an outlaw because he refused to bow to corrupt lawmen and exploiters. He had intervened before, losing friends, gaining enemies, but never regretting standing against wrong. He was a lone wolf, driven by a stubborn code of justice. Over the next few days, as they rode deeper into the untamed wilderness, their relationship unfurled. They spoke little but shared much in the vast silences. Mary learned to ride alongside him, to read the land, to recognize tracks. Isaac taught her to handle a rifle, build a fire, survive. He never pushed, only offered knowledge, protection, and presence. Mary saw beyond his dust and hardened exterior. She saw his quiet compassion, his patience, the flicker of sorrow in his eyes. He was a man deeply scarred by the world, but with an unwavering moral compass. He, in turn, saw her strength, resilience, intelligence, and the untapped joy in her eyes. He saw her spirit, illuminating a beauty far deeper than superficial perfection. One evening, by a crackling campfire, Mary shared her deepest fears, her guilt, the town's shame. Isaac listened, then gently took her hand. His touch was warm and reassuring. Your family loved you, Mary, he said, and your choice was courage, not shame. The only mark upon you is that of a survivor, a protector. Any man who cannot see that is blind. I see it. I see you. It was then, under the infinite frontier sky, that Mary realized she was falling in love with this quiet, dangerous man who saw her true self. In his gaze, she knew he saw it too. Their bond was born of understanding, shared trauma, and a mutual yearning for a life lived on their own terms, free from judgment. Their newfound peace was temporary. Weeks later, as they headed towards a remote trading post, a band of riders appeared. Silas Thorn had indeed sent men, bounty hunters and his enforcers. Mary recognized faces from Salvation Gulch. Thorn's dogs, Isaac muttered, hand on his rifle. They're persistent. The chase was relentless. Mary felt no fear, only fierce resolve. She would not go back. She would stand by Isaac. They were cornered in a narrow canyon. Silas Thorn himself was among the pursuers, his face red with fury. He stood at the entrance, flanked by his men, a triumphant sneer. Isaac Thorn, the desert ghost rides no more, Thorn bellowed, and the whore you stole will return to her rightful place. Mary flinched, but Isaac's hand was steady. He stepped forward. She's no one's property, Thorn, and your justice is as hollow as your heart. The law will see you hang, Thorn retorted, motioning his men forward. The law I've seen knows nothing of justice, Isaac countered. It's a puppet for men like you, who bleed the honest dry and call it business. The only crime here is yours, Thorn, the lives you've ruined, the families you've broken, the souls you've bought and sold. He then spoke directly to Thorn's men. Do you truly stand with this man? Do you ride for the one who strips women of their dignity, who starves families, who profits from misery? Or do you ride for justice, for what's right? Some men exchanged uneasy glances. They knew Thorn's reputation. He lies, Thorn shrieked. He's a killer. I've spilled blood, yes, Isaac admitted steady, but always in defense of the innocent, in defense of truth against corruption. Is that a crime? He challenged them to look within. A standoff. The wind whistled. One of Thorn's men, a grizzled cowboy, slowly lowered his rifle. He's right, Silas, this ain't right. Another followed. Thorn roared, but his authority crumbled. The remaining loyalists held ground. We don't want bloodshed if it can be avoided, Isaac said, fixed on Thorn. But if you force my hand, I promise you, I will not hesitate. Thorn, desperate, made a fatal mistake. He drew his pistol, aiming wildly. Isaac was already moving, drawing both revolvers, not firing but disarming Thorn and his men with two swift, precise shots that knocked their weapons from their hands. He didn't kill, he disarmed. Thorn stood exposed, impotent fury on his face. Isaac picked up Thorn's pistol, then calmly broke it in half. Your reign of terror in Salvation Gulch is over, Thorn, he stated. Go back to your ledgers. But from this day forward, you deal in honesty, or you deal with me." He turned to the men who had dropped their weapons. "Go, and tell the people of Salvation Gulch the truth. Tell them what happened here, and tell them what kind of man Silas Thorne truly is." The men, disillusioned, nodded, quickly mounted, and rode away, leaving Thorne alone, defeated. Mary walked to Isaac's side, her heart overflowing. He was her hero. They didn't return to Salvation Gulch. The social stigma, though challenged, would linger, and their spirits yearned for truer freedom. Isaac's name was cleared in some distant territories. His reputation for unconventional justice spread, but they sought a new beginning, a place where their love could flourish, untainted by judgment. They built a small cabin deep in a verdant valley, beside a rushing river in newly charted territories, a place where the sun shone bright and the air was clean. They tilled the land together, faced the wilderness as a team, and found profound peace in shared solitude. Mary's scars remained, but in Isaac's eyes, they were indeed beautiful, a testament to her strength and fierce spirit. Their love, born of desperation and defiance, became a legend, whispered only among themselves. A quiet, powerful testament to two souls who found belonging not in society's rigid embrace, but in each other, in a wild, beautiful world where true beauty was seen by the heart, not the eye.